So, as I was introduced, I'm Senior Planner at the Montreal Urban Ecology Centre, and I'm here to talk about our project called Green, Active, Healthy Neighbourhoods. I'm also proud to be the lead for a new project, which I'll talk about at the end, but it's called Active Neighbourhoods Canada. And it's an unusual project because we'll be working in 3 provinces, Quebec, Ontario, and Alberta, and with our partner here, Toronto Centre for Active Transportation, and hopefully some of you. So we're an independent, not-for-profit organization, and our mission is to build and share expertise concerning the most democratic and viable approaches to sustainable urban development. Really, we work on bringing about social and political change in Montreal for an ecological and democratic city. And we aim to bring learning to Montreal, but also other cities in Quebec, in Canada, and elsewhere in the world. So we've been recognized for our work in sustainable neighborhood planning, ecological development, organizing citizen summits, but especially right now our work focuses on participatory democracy and citizenship, on greening and urban agriculture, and on urban planning and active transportation. We also carry out special projects. 2 years ago we organized the Ecocity World Summit in Montreal, where we brought together 1,500 people from 72 countries around the world. And I'm just curious, was anybody in this room present at that summit 2 years ago? Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to do another one. Anyway, the next Ecocity World Summit is in Nantes, France, this September, in case anyone's interested in attending. So we're all here to change our cities so that we don't have to live in places that look like this anymore. All of our cities face complicated situations, right? This is the dominant paradigm. There's a crying need for change, there are limited financial resources, there's not always political will, maybe not even often. So our strategy is to take advantage of every opportunity that presents itself to bring about change. So the City of Montreal, in its 2008 transportation plan, had a little tiny section where it said they wanted to introduce green neighborhoods in order to promote active transportation and increase quality of life. We jumped on the opportunity. We launched a project called Green, Active, Healthy Neighborhoods at the same time, but independent from the city and not funded by the city, so that it was part of city policy but not controlled by city government. So there were 2 initiatives at the same time, one by city government, one by a civil society organization. We didn't wait for the city to announce its approach or its policy. Rather, we did our project at the same time, collaborated with the city, talked with them about what was happening, and it turned out to be a great strategy to help shape policy and also to bring about change. The aim of the project is to rethink streets and public spaces, to change culture and conditions to favor active transportation, and to improve neighborhood quality of life. Our vision for Green, Active, Healthy Neighborhood has 6 components. It's about putting people first in our streets and public spaces, about creating safe, inviting active transportation, also forging better connections between people and nature, strengthening sense of place along the way, providing opportunities through all these initiatives for creative expression of residents. Also, we aim for citizen engagement rather than consultation. Authentic, not tokenistic. We want to inspire people to participate in shaping their neighborhood's future. And we draw inspiration in our long-term approach, particularly from Copenhagen, where a long-term vision over decades, coupled with incremental change year after year, is what led to the success of transforming that city from a city with many of the same statistics that our cities have to one of the great pedestrian and cyclist cities of the world. So why can't we do the same in our cities? In this project, we carried out participatory planning processes in 4 communities in Montreal, and they were selected based on their mobilization efforts, their development and transportation challenges, and there was a requirement that they have substantial marginalized populations. And they were interested in working with us for 3 main reasons. First, they had a number of different analyses and plans in the neighborhood that they wanted to consolidate. Also, they wanted to translate the visions, the various visions in people's heads into concrete, tangible planning and design solutions. And they also wanted to find interesting ways to engage citizens together with practitioners, professionals, and city government in order to together form goals that were doable, context appropriate, and long-lasting. So our process has 3 phases. First, we try to understand the neighborhood, and particularly its constraints to active transportation. So as that, we put together a neighborhood portrait. Then the second part is that we explore different planning alternatives for the neighborhood around a common vision. We define priorities for intervention and then develop design scenarios. And then third, we fine-tune the planning alternatives, we decide priorities, and we launch a plan. And in our experience, we bring together a whole lot of different people in these processes. So citizens, community organizations. We also work very closely with academics in the 4 universities in Montreal, with local governments and professionals. And we find that this has been a successful strategy in accelerating transition. As I said, we're very committed to engaging citizens through very deep and active participation, because we find it leads to better decisions, and it builds ownership, and it makes people have greater stake in their everyday environments. And of course, it's absolutely key that local government be a key player, because local government is often the main player in implementation. So active citizen participation is central to our approach. These are just a few examples of our methods. And I must say that if anyone participated this morning in a Complete Streets game, I'm sure that that's a tool that we're going to want to introduce as well. It's a great new method that Toronto Centre for Active Transportation is developing. So that was online surveys to reach a wide audience, collect all kinds of different data. Urban cafes are open meetings that we have where we discuss neighborhood planning processes, brainstorm ideas, brainstorm solutions to local problems. And we have a number of different strategies for exploratory walks. Sometimes they involve walks with school children, and then we incorporate that with activities in the classroom. We found this to be particularly successful in areas where there are high numbers of immigrant populations, where parents don't speak French, and the only French spoken is by children who attend school. So we found that to be a great way to reach people. And we've also experimented with Jan Gale's methodology of public space, public life studies, because this is a way of collecting data that isn't usually collected through official statistics. So qualitative and quantitative data about how public space is used, as well as other studies on walkability and urban environments that show how characteristics of built environments affect how pedestrians and cyclists use space. So the 3 sections in our plans are the project description and rationale, as I mentioned before, a portrait of the neighborhood with a focus on active transportation, constraints and opportunities, and then proposed actions in order to create a green, active, healthy neighborhood. And the last chapter includes, I'll just give you a sampling of the kinds of things that are in our plans. So we have intervention strategies like these, the English is at the bottom, which are designed to improve active transportation. Then we also have many proposed actions and measures. So it's in English at the top, just one example that would be an action in one of our plans. And then we give specific measures and give specific streets or intersections where we recommend the changes be made. We also include street sections, which compare current situation with proposed alternatives. And we provide lots of illustrations with photos and infrastructure recommendations, both of examples from other places and local examples. And we try to include renderings because that really brings what's possible to life for people, such as this is a raised crosswalk proposed. and proposals for new cycle paths and widening of sidewalks. So this is the launch of one of our later plans in the Plateau East neighborhood of Montreal. And 150 people attended, and we were pleased that borough councillors actually committed to implementing parts of the plan during the public meeting. The media was present, and so we've been able to hold local government accountable to that. So some of the parts of the plan are being implemented. And so far, our external evaluators have identified 3 key success factors to why these plans seem to be working so far, these approaches, these processes. So in their estimation, our rigor and our promotion of good practice helps to keep us on the cutting edge. I'm convinced we can do a lot better, but we're working in that direction. Our public actions and advocacy communications have enabled us to influence policies and also professional practices. So we hold all kinds of trainings and seminars with officials in local government, with private sector professionals. We also hold events like Car-Free Neighborhoods Week. Around Car-Free Day in September, we organize a whole week of activities to demonstrate what kinds of things are possible. And our community engagement work helps us to improve our applied knowledge. So, for example, not only our plans, but we're also the organizer of Jayne's Walk for Montreal, just as, I guess it's Centre for City Ecology who does it in Toronto, but anyway. So that kind of public awareness raising opportunity. This is a bad translation, so please don't read the title. Simply put, transparent, meaningful citizen participation that leads to better outcomes, leads to better decisions. As has come up in every session today so far, I think, ongoing challenge, plan implementation. Okay, we know a lot of the things that we should be doing. How do we make it happen? I love this quote from Janice Perlman. She said, to plan is human, to implement is divine. So how is it done? How do these kinds of places get realized? 2 examples. One is from our friend John Ram, who's planning director at the City of San Francisco. And what he said is it's actually in policy, and it's a commitment by city government that every infrastructure opportunity there is in the city, they take that opportunity to seize it in order to change the way things are built, in order to implement their Better Streets policy. So we're trying to do the same thing in Montreal. Because of course the tendency is when a street needs to be repaired, just repair it the same way it was built before. So we're trying to seize opportunities, have plans in place so that we can jump on an opportunity. Construction is going to be done anyway, let's rebuild it differently. And secondly, our friend from Yale Architects explained how they work to break the silo effect by having different directors of city government get together on a regular basis. And that sounds very similar to what Mr. Dobrovony said this morning about Mayor Cooper. And I thought that was an excellent approach, and I would love to see Montreal city government do a similar thing. I'm sure you'd all like to see your city governments do a similar thing, to be able to work together to try to break these silos effectively. I won't go through this slide, but I just want to say this was from a workshop we did with people from Montreal and Quebec City about pedestrianization projects and demonstrations that we've tried in our 2 cities. And so we talked about what things worked and what things didn't work. And above all, what we found was that the most important thing not to do was a top-down approach of parachuting in a project, some sort of pedestrianization project, without key interests involved, without citizens, without merchants, and without testing it first. Our own implementation strategy for our plans involved 5 steps. I'm going to be wrapping up in the next minute. We create a follow-up committee after the plan's launched and drop an action plan for implementation with short and medium-term measures. And we continue regular mobilization as we have time to keep people involved and hold government accountable And we try to make ourselves available to provide ongoing advice to partner organizations, local citizens, and local government. These are just a few of our early results from some of our plans, small implementations that have been done as a result of our plans in Mercier East in Montreal and in the Plateau East neighborhood of Montreal. And very quickly, in my last few seconds, I want to say that increasingly our work is demanded outside of Montreal. In the last year and a half, we've been doing a lot of work in other cities and towns in Quebec. And it's a bit of a scoop because it hasn't been officially announced, but we did just receive federal funding to carry out a project in 3 provinces, in Quebec, Ontario, and Alberta. And as I said, working with Toronto Centre for Active Transportation is the lead in Ontario, we're the lead in Quebec, and Sustainable Calgary is the organization in Alberta. And what we'll be doing is carrying out active neighborhood plans in 4 communities in each province, so for a total of 12 communities. And I hope that that maybe we'll have the chance to work with some of you on those projects. That was what I was meant to be saying this year. And just the 3 goals of the project: collaborations, more pan-Canadian collaborations, including with French, Francophone and Anglophone communities. As I said, 12 communities with green, active, healthy neighborhood plans, and social and political change in favor of active transportation. This is the very last slide, and I think Trevor might have said this in his session in the last session. And that is, I just encourage you, whether you're with a civil society organization, local government, or whoever, civil society organizations can play a key role in advancing, in working with local government and citizens to advance urban planning and active transportation, and to make an irreversible shift to create les villes que nous voulons, or the cities we want. Thank you very much.